let us move on to the next section of this call, that is Srimad Bhagavatam. May I know who all are joining the call today?
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai, Priti Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Priti Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Arvind Das from Chicago. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Arvind Das Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Prabhuji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga, and to all the assembled devotees here. This is Megha from Naperville. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Megha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Pranam. All glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to assembled devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji. Go ahead, Mataji. It's okay.
Never mind, Mataji. You go ahead first. Never mind. I wouldn't mind.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Thank
It's
you.
okay.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharajas, and all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Tiffany in Pennsylvania. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Tiffany Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Please accept my humble obeisance. I'm Charana Lishmi from Asia.
Hare Krishna Mataji. What's your name, Mataji?
I'm Charana Lishmi from Malaysia, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Charana Sevini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the assembled devotees on the call. This is Anita from Sharjah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Anita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Bhargavi Vasudha Mataji. All glories Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj is my humble obeisances to you and all the devotees. This is Krishna Kumari Devi Dasi from Raleigh.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to the Guru Maharaj, all glories to the assembled devotees. This is Shiromani Nandarani Devidasi from Krishna Kathadesh. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Shiromani Nandarani Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Induleka Karna Devi Dasi from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Induleka Karna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to the assembled devotees. Yashamati from Chicago.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, is there anyone who would like to introduce in the call today?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and all the assembled devotees. This is Nandapriya Narmada Devi Dasi from Charlotte. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Nandapriya Narmada Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, all glories to Vaishnava. This is Sushmita from Mississauga.
Hare Krishna Shushmita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Bhagavati Vasudha Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Guru Maharaj ki jai. This is Shyamaguri Devi Dasi from Charlotte.
Hare Krishna Shyama Gauri Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji, for joining Bhakti Sangha conference call. Hare Krishna. Okay, I welcome all of you once again. Thank you everyone for joining today's Bhakti Sangha conference. Today, we are really fortunate to have His Grace Keshavanand Prabhu ji to enlighten us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam from 5.18.29 onwards. So, before I hand over the call to Hare Krishna Prabhu ji, please accept all of our humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the call and giving your valuable association. So, before I hand over the call to Prabhu ji, I would like to hand over the call to Tiffany Mataji to give a brief introduction.
Hare Krishna Mataji. I would like to read Prabhuji's introduction today. Dr. Keshavanand Prabhu was a professional doctor for many years. He is now a practicing monk. Since last 20 years, he has conducted extensive research and authored books in the field of science and spirituality. He feels the rift between science and spirituality must disappear to bring peace in the world. If spirituality is superstition and myth, science is materialistic. Science is materialistic and atheistic. A new approach of life is needed today that can bring the best of both. Science must re-embrace spirituality and be humble to admit its defects, flaws, and ignorance. And spirituality must base itself on sound, scientific, and rational ideas. Keshavanand Das has studied both Vedic and Western philosophy. Besides learning Sanskrit, he also learned Bengal, Gujarati, Marathi, and Kannada to know about other traditions. His persistence endure in the field of science and spirituality has enabled him to come up with seminars on diverse topics like science and the Vedas, mind and machines. Science fails to explain life, consciousness, and beyond, etc., that he has presented in various colleges in India, Europe, and America under guidance of his spiritual master, His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Swami. He has also started a Gurukul, a traditional system of Vedic education in Punjab, in India, where children learn the ancient Vedic culture and values. Besides, he started a farm community. The community has a traditional way of living with mutts and huts, with cows, and of course, farming. The community will set a model for the world to show how the life is, how to live a life based on a principles of simple living, high thinking. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Over to you.
Hare Krishna. So much, Mataji, for that brief introduction. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Now I hand over the call to you. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. We are really happy to have you on the call. Hare Krishna.
Can anybody read the verse and purport?
Yes.
Sure. Of course. Yeah. Somebody can read it.
Yes, Prabhuji, we are reading. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, verse 29. Hiranmayepi Bhagavan Nivasati Kurma Tanam Bhibranastasya Tat Priyata Tamam Tanum Aryama Saha Varsha Purushai Pitraganadhipatir Upadhavati Mantram Imam Chanujapati. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shukadev Goswami continued, in the Hiranmaya Varsha, the Supreme Lord Vishnu lies in the form of a tortoise. Kurma Sharira. This most dear and beautiful form is always worshipped there in devotional service by Aryama, the chief resident of Hiranmaya Varsha, along with the other inhabitants of that land. They chant the following hymns. Purport. The word Priyatama, dear most, is very significant in this verse. Each devotee regards a particular form of the Lord as most dear. Because of an atheistic mentality, some people think that the boar, tortoise, and fish incarnations of the Lord are not very beautiful. They do not know that any form of the Lord is always the fully opulent personality of Godhead. Since one of his opulences is infinite beauty, all the Lord's incarnations are very beautiful and are appreciated as such by devotees. Non-devotees, however, think that Lord's incarnations are ordinary material creations, and therefore they distinguish between the beautiful and the not beautiful. A certain form of the Lord is worshipped by a particular devotee because he loves to see that form of the Lord. As stated in Brahma Samhita 5.33, Advaitam Anadimananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayauvanam Cha. The very beautiful form of the Lord is always youthful. Sincere servants of a particular form of the Lord always see that form as very beautiful, and thus they engage in constant devotional service to him. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Okay, I think I'll start. My voice is clear?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Om Agranate Tasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurapani Pacharane Shunyavadi Paschadishta. Okay, so this is the verse 5.18.29, and here in this verse, let me just have a look here. 5.18.29. The residents of Jambudvip are offering their prayers, and especially here among the Jambudvip, here is a Hiranyamaya Varsha. Now, the residents of Hiranyamaya Varsha, they are offering prayers to Bhagavan, which is the Kurma avatar of the Lord. So, so this verse starts with Hiranyamaya Api Bhagavan. Now, the Hiranyamaya Varsha, why it's called Hiranyamaya Varsha? Because there is Hiranyamaya means effulgent. The word Hiranyamaya means effulgent. It is said in Isopanishad, the same word we find in Isopanishad, Mantra 15, where it is said, Hiranyamaya patrena satyasya pihita mukham tatyam pushama privinu satya dharmaya kalpate. Isopanishad, we know it's translated by Srila Prabhupada, and there the prayers are offered. So I think Prajapati Ruchi, he's offering prayers to Lord Vishnu, and he's saying, Hiranyamaya patrena. He's saying, oh my Lord, your face is covered by Hiranyamaya. Hiranyamaya means effulgence. Satyasya pihitam mukham. Mukham means face. Tattvam pushan apavrinu. Oh my Lord, you are the maintainer. Pushan, maintainer, apavrinu. Remove this effulgence so that I can see your beautiful face, which is satya dharmaya kalpate, which is the sustain, which is your face sustains satya dharmaya, the devotion of the pure devotees. So one of the meaning of Hiranyamaya is effulgence. This is one of the names even of the sun. Sun is also called Hiranyamaya. So in this Hiranyamaya Varsha, the Lord is worshipped as Bhagavan, where he stays in Nivasati Kurma Tanum, where he stays in the form of Lord Kurma. Now here Srila Prabhupada mentions, now this word in Sanskrit, Kurma Tanum, is very important here in this verse, because the word Tanum comes. Now ordinarily Tanum means body. So generally Mayavadis might translate this as okay, Lord takes the body of Kurma. But we know that the body of the Lord is transcendental. He is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. We know this from Brahma Samhita. And also Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 9.11, Krishna says 9.11, Avajananti ma mura manushim taramashritam param bhapam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Krishna says, Avajananti ma mura, fools, mura, they do not know me. Manushim tanum ashritam. Now here again this word tanum is used in relationship to the word manushim. Now generally Mayavadis, they translate this verse as, oh okay, Krishna says fools do not know me. Why? Because I appear in, manushim means human, tanum means body, because I appear in human body. And they think my form is this 2 hands, 2 legs, but actually I am Nirakar Brahma, I am the impersonal absolute. But Srila Prabhupada, even in the commentary and also elsewhere, and also Madhvacharya, he comments Manushim Tanu, and Prabhupada also comments Manushim doesn't mean he appears in human body. Human means Manushya, and Manushim means human-like. So Krishna says in 9.11, I appear in human-like body. And that's why people do not understand me. Fools do not understand me, because they think that this form, which is human-like of minds, it is as good as any other human. But actually, it's only human-like. It is transcendental. Angani asya saklendriya vrittimanti pashyanti panti kalyanti chiram jaganti. In Brahma Samhita, Brahmaji says, all your limbs are transcendental and all your limbs can do the functions of any other limbs easily. That's why Prabhupada writes in the purport there that Krishna can accept our offerings through his eyes. He can taste through his eyes, because his eyes can function the functions of tongue. So that's why the word tanum, head, but there in Bhagavad Gita, manushim tanum, body. So but that is in conjunction with manushim, human-like body. So that's okay, we can understand. But here the word kurma tanum is coming. So if you literally translate it, then it means that the Lord resides in the Hiranyamaya Varsha, in the body of Kurma. Now this can be understood in Mayavadi context, because Mayavadis can say, oh, that impersonal absolute resides in the body of Kurma. But we know that when the word Tanum comes in Vedic scripture, especially in Bhagavatam, there's a text, Sanat Kumar Samhita, and there Kumaras, they say, actually Gaudiya Vaishnavas, for us Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Sanat Kumar Samhita is very important. Entire Hari Bhakti Vilas is based on Sanat Kumar Samhita, almost very large portions. But Sanat Kumar says that Kumara says that whenever the word body is used in scriptures, that means spiritual body and not material body. It's clear. So there's evidence there for the word Tanu. So Kurma Tanu means he is having a spiritual body. And so that's why this Kurma, the Lord Kurma, is worshipped there in Hiranyamaya Varsha by the devotees of that Hiranyamaya Varsha. Now this Kurma deities are very important, because if we see the pastimes of Kurma, Lord acts as a tortoise. Now many Vaishnavas, they worship Kurma for knowledge, and of course for knowledge, and also for making their devotion very strong. That's how Vaishnavas worship Kurma avatars. If you go in Pushkar, which is in Rajasthan, a famous pilgrimage place, you will find the deities of Kurma being worshipped there. And also, okay, so there is one Kurma Kshetra also in Odisha. We know that. Kurma Kshetra. So the deities of Kurma is being worshipped. Now, Kurma avatar is very unique because if you read Bhagavatam, the pastimes of Kurma or tortoise form, we see in that pastime there are many incarnations of Lord simultaneously. Because the Kurma avatar, that is in relationship to the churning of the sea, where demons and demigods are churning the sea and for the nectar, and there they employ the mountain, Mandar mountain, to churn the sea, and for the rope they use Vasuki, Vasuki serpent. So when they're churning, so demons and demigods, they make a truce and they say, okay, let's churn and let's get the nectar and divide into half. Okay, fine, then that's good. But the problem was that when they put the mountain in the ocean and they started churning it with the Vasuki as a rope, the mountain was going down because there was no fulcrum. If you put the mountain on the sea, it will sink. But so then how will you churn? So to sustain the mountain from below, you need some solid support. And that was not there. So the demigods, they worshipped the Lord, and the Lord appeared in the form of Kurma. So in that whole pastime of churning of ocean, the first avatar of Lord was Kurma there, below the mountain, who was sustaining the mountain. So it is said one of the functions of Kurma avatar is to sustain the devotion of devotees. When the devotees are sinking into the ocean of material existence, Kurma avatar gives support from below. He sustains. Of course, we don't worship Kurma avatar as such in Gaudiya Vaishnavism or another Vaishnava Sampradaya is not much. But people who do worship Kurma avatar, especially in Hiranyamai Pursha, in Hiranyamai, this Desh of Jamudi, they're very attached to this form. And Prabhupada comments on that afterwards. I'll come to that point. They cannot think any other form except Kurma avatar. Now, so that's one of the function of Kurma. Now, another function of Kurma is, one is sustaining the devotion of the devotee. Another function of Kurma is to give the power of tolerance. Because that mountain was, so when they were churning the mountain, the Kurma is below and the mountain is above. So the mountain is rubbing on the back of Kurma. And it is said, Kurma avatar was feeling as if some ant is itching. I mean to say, there's a small itching on the back, that's all. It was not at all feeling the weight of the mountain. So if we worship Kurma avatar, we will develop extreme tolerance. We will not feel the weight or the burden of this material world on us while we are practicing devotional service. We develop extreme tolerance. So worshipping Kurma avatar also gives the quality of tolerance. First quality he gives is, the first function of Kurma avatar is to sustain the devotion of the devotees when they're falling down. And the second is to give the quality of tolerance to his devotees. That's the second function of Kurma avatar. Of course, the third function of Kurma avatar is also to give knowledge of scriptures, to actually help the devotee to realize the knowledge of scriptures. Why? Because only by realizing the knowledge of scriptures, we can become strong and we will be able to save ourselves from falling down in this material existence. So that's the third function of Kurma avatar. By his breath, by his cool breath, he gives the knowledge of scriptures, infuses them in the heart of his devotees. So that is another third function of Kurma avatar. So these devotees are praying him, are offering obeisances, but devotees in Hiranyamaya Parvarsha, they're not actually worshipping him for these benefits. That's the whole point. They're worshipping him because they like him, they love him. Priyatama, it will come, that word will come. They love him. But anyway, this whole pastime of churning, so before I come back to this verse, I must go back in that. So I was talking about churning the ocean. The first avatar was Kurma avatar. The second avatar was in the same pastime. This churning the ocean is very important pastime, especially related to Kurma avatar. But then there are other avatars in this pastime. So this is one special pastime where there are many incarnations of Lord at the same time. And that's why this pastime of churning the ocean, that's also mentioned in the Vedas. And if you go, that is so important. And if you go in Cambodia, there's a whole temple, big Vishnu temple, where on the walls there is the whole churning of the ocean. In all scriptures, this pastime of churning the ocean is considered to be very, very important. Why? Because there's many incarnations simultaneously in this whole pastime. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 incarnations of Lord in this pastime. At least 5. So the first is Kurma. The second is because the mountain is standing on Kurma. This is Kurma, and the mountain is standing on there, and the churning. So you have the fulcrum below, but above also you have to hold. Otherwise, when you churn, the mountain will go like this, like this, like this, here and there. So below Kurma avatar is holding. Above there you also need some solid thing so that it can go round and round and round. So Lord takes another avatar by the name Ajit, who has, I think, 8 hands, I think 8 or 10 hands, something. He takes the form of Ajit, Ajit means unconquerable, and he comes and sits on the top of the mountain. There's a second incarnation in this very pastime of churning the ocean. And then the third incarnation where Lord takes in this pastime is of Dhanvantri. He is a father of Ayurveda, and he appears as Dhanvantri. And the fourth incarnation he takes when he comes in the form of, so when Lakshmi appears from the ocean, he comes and marries Lakshmi. From the Vaikuntha he comes, he takes some incarnation and there he marries Lakshmi and takes him as his wife. So that's fourth incarnation. And the fifth incarnation is when the ocean is being churned and the nectar appears. There's a fight between demons and demigods. Who takes it? And Lord appears in the form of Mohini avatar. And there he dilutes the demons and gives a nectar to demigods. So there are 5 incarnations in one pastime. There's no other pastime of the Lord where there are simultaneously so many incarnations. So Kurma avatar is related to other incarnations as well, of Ajit, he comes to marry Lakshmi as Vishnu, so Vishnu, and then Dhanvantri, and then Mohini avatar. So when these Hiranyamaya Varsha people, devotees, they are worshipping Kurma, they are also thinking of other pastimes, because other forms of Lord, like Ajit, like Vishnu, who came to marry Lakshmi, Dhanvantri, Mohini avatar. But the primary focus is on Kurma avatar. So they are worshipping this Kurma here. So Prabhupada mentions Kurma Tanum. And Prabhupada mentions here that the form of the Lord, Tanum means, Tanum Prabhupada translates as the form and not body. So why? Because if you translate Tanum as body, then you have to say, then it's not material body, it's spiritual body. But if you translate Tanum as form, which is equally correct, then there's no problem, because Lord takes the form of tortoise. He is spiritual, he can take any form. So Tanum, if when you translate Tanum as form, that is very correct translation. Although Mayavadis will not like it, they will like to translate it as body. But if you see the dictionary, you can equally translate it as form. There is another verse in Upanishads where the word Tanum is used. What's that? Nayama Shweta Shatur Upanishad, Nayama Atma Pravachana Labhyo, Na Bahuna Na Shrutena Va, Nameva Esha Vinate Tanum, Nameva Esha Vinate Tanum Swam. So Tanum Swam means, there again the word Tanum means form in that Upanishad. Lord reveals his form by his own mercy. Whoever So this verse is very, very dear to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he said, and he often used to quote from Shweta Shutapani. He said, you cannot attain Lord by Nayama Atma Prabhachenana. You cannot attain this Atma. This Atma means this super soul, this Lord. Here the Atma word is used in the context of God. You cannot attain God by by doing so many pravachanas only. You cannot attain Lord only by hearing so many lectures. Then how do you attain him? Yameva esha vrinute tena labhya. Yameva esha vrinute. Whomever the God accepts, vrinute, tena labhya, only he will gain the Lord. How? Yameva esha vrinute tanum, Yameva esha vrinute tena labhya vibrinute tanum sam something. Yeah, tanum sam. Why? Because whomever the Lord accepts, and whomever Lord is pleased with, he will reveal himself to that devotee because he will accept him as his own associate. So that's the whole point. Ultimately we are doing Shravanam and Kirtanam, hearing and chanting, but this hearing and chanting per se cannot help us attain the Lord, because we can also hear and chant with offenses. Bhau janma jadi kare Shravan Kirtan, tabu to na paye Krishna pade prem dhan. But we have to hear and chant in such a way so that Krishna becomes pleased, and only when he becomes pleased, out of his mercy, he will reveal his form. So Kurma Tanum, Prabhupada gives a very beautiful meaning of Tanum here. His translation is perfect according to Vaishnav context. In the word-to-word meaning, Prabhupada translates the body of a tortoise in the word-to-word synonyms. But in the translation, he says, this most dear and beautiful form lives in the form of a tortoise. He actually changes from the body of a tortoise to the form of tortoise in translation. Why? Because that's the real meaning of Tanum. Now somebody can say Prabhupada is actually changing the meaning. Kurma Tanum in synonyms is body of a tortoise. When translations is the form of tortoise. Why Prabhupada is changing the meaning? People can say Prabhupada has changed the meaning. No, Prabhupada is not changing the meaning, because there are two things. Actually, Prabhupada is very genuine, because even in synonyms, Prabhupada would have written the form of a tortoise, but he didn't do that. He gave a literal translation. He's genuinely saying, okay, Tanu means body. But when he's translating, he's saying he is changing this body into the form, because ultimately, when you understand body in proper context, that's the spiritual body. Krishna is not taking another material body as covering on his own. It's a spiritual body simply changing the form. So in synonyms, Prabhupada is giving literal translation, but in literal meaning. But in translation, when he writes, he gives the understanding of that word according to parampara. That is called Bhavavachak translation. So there are two translations. One is Arthvachak and one is Bhavavachak. So when Prabhupada gives the meaning in synonyms, that's Arthvachak. Tanu means body. Dictionary, you see body. Okay, body. One of the most famous meanings of Tanu is body. But when he translates in Bhavavachak. He says, okay, well, according to parampara, what do you mean by body? You mean by body, the meaning of here, when we say body, spiritual form. That's the whole idea. So Prabhupada is not mincing words or misinterpreting or mistranslating. That is why we need parampara. If we don't have parampara, then it is said, sampradaya vihina je mantra che nishpala mataha. Without sampradaya, there is no, all mantras are failed. Why? Because when you read Bhagavatam on your own, then you'll see Kurma Tanum and you say, oh, a body of tortoise, so this is Mayavad. But no, then you have to see parampara, and then in parampara, Tanum, body is translated as form. Why? Because it's spiritual form. So it makes things clear. So Kurma Tanum Bhibranas Tasya, and Bhibrana means manifesting. Tasya tat priyatamam tanum. Again, the word tanum is used. Krishna reveals this beautiful form, priyatamam Tanum, which is very dearmost. This form is Priya, and Prabhupada comments in the purport. Prabhupada says Priyatama is very significant in this verse. Each devotee regards a particular form of Lord as most dear. So for Hanuman, the most dear form of Lord is Ram. You see in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Leela, Hanuman comes as Murari Gupta, and Lord Chaitanya asks him to actually leave worshipping Ram, and start worshipping Krishna, but he simply couldn't. He said, better I die, but I cannot leave Ram, but at the same time, I cannot avoid your orders. So this is a crazy situation. I'll commit suicide. So Ram said, Lord Chaitanya said, oh, this is very nice. You're so attached to your form and you're Hanuman. You will never be able to leave the worship of Lord Ram. Although Lord Krishna is most attractive and he has more qualities than Ram and he's more sweet, but for you, Ram is your life and soul, and that is your devotion, and it is glorified. So that's the point. Priyatamam Tanum. People who worship Varha avatar, they are very attached to Varha, worshipping Varha avatar. I think Badiraj, he used to worship Vyasa Tirtha Badiraj, one of them. His deity was Varha avatar. If you go to Udupi temple, when you circumambulate, there is a picture of horse. Oh, sorry, Varha, I'm saying Hayagriva avatar, horse, and he's on the back of Vyasa Tirtha. Yeah, Vyasa Tirtha used to worship Hayagriva avatar. So people worship Varaha avatar, people worship Matsya avatar. The Manus were worshipping Matsya avatar. We have information from Bhagavatam, and they are attached to the particular form. Now, Hare Krishna. Oh, there is some disturbance. Can anybody mute them? Okay. Priyatamam Tanum Aryama Saha. Now, who is worshipping? Who is worshipping in Hiranyamaya Varsha? Who are these devotees who are worshipping in Hiranyamaya Varsha? Now, this is Aryama. Aryamaha Saha Varsha Purushai. Now, who is Aryama? Here we have to stop and discuss about him. Aryama, literally, Aryama means companion. If you see dictionary, Aryama means companion. Many females, they also have the name Aryama. Maybe not presently, but in South, in Kerala, they have this tradition of keeping the name Aryama. But here, this is the name of the male, Aryama. So Aryama means companion. So this Aryama is one of the names of the Lord, in fact. Krishna or Vishnu is called as Aryama because he's a companion of everyone in the form of Paramatma. He's a companion of his devotees because Bhatta Sauhirda, because he always accompanies his devotees when they're struggling with this material world, in this ocean of material existence, and trying to serve him. So he is the well-wisher and the companion of all. Aryama can also means partner. He is a partner of soul as super soul, eternally residing, lifetimes after lifetimes after lifetimes, and he never leaves the soul. Even if the soul becomes completely corrupt, evil, with sins, still Lord, as a partner, as a true partner, never leaves him. As a true friend, never leaves him. So Aryama can also means friend. It can also means friend. He never leaves the soul. Although soul forgets super soul, but he never forgets the soul. Why? Because the soul belongs to him. It's his property. Just like a son can forget the father and mother, but the mother can never forget the son. So Aryama literally means this. But here, Aryama doesn't refer to Vishnu. Aryama here refers to a particular person who is the son of Aditi and Kashyap. Now we know Kashyap had two wives, Aditi and Diti. From Diti, we have demons. From Aditi, we have demigods. From Aditi, we also have 12 Adityas. 12 Adityas means 12 sun gods. So one of them, the third one is Aryama. We also have Vivaswan, who comes in Bhagavad Gita, Vivaswan Manvebraha. Then there is Twashta, there is Pushan. In Upanishad Mantra 15, that word Pushan comes, it refers to sun god. So Aryama acted as sun god, as Aditya, and also Aryama, and his residence is in Hiranmaya Marsha here in Jambudip, and he is worshipping Lord Kurma, Aryama. The same Aryama we know, he also acted as Yamraj when Yamraj was cursed. Yamraj was once cursed by Manduka Muni to become Shudra by the will of Lord. Of course, nobody can curse Yamraj, but Srila Prabhupada explains in the 6th canto that Yamraj, he was very, very sorrowful. He was very unhappy. Why? Because all the demigods like Indra, Surya, Varun, Vayu, they all had chance of serving the Supreme Lord in his various pastimes. But Yamraj never got this chance because Yamraj is a very busy person. Prabhupada explains in the Prabhupada, Yamraj is a very busy person. Why? Because Yamraj is dealing with all sinful people. He stays in the Pluto planet, Prabhupada says, near the earthly planet. And he's a very busy person because continuously in the whole material universe, there are so many evil persons and demons, and they are regularly brought to him in Yamloka, and he has to actually so Mataji, somebody has to mute somebody is unmuted, so it's creating disturbance. Please see to it. So all these evil persons and all sinful persons are taken to Yamlok, and Yamraj has to see has to actually see what to so what are the sins, what are the credits, and then throw them into particular hell according to their sinful deeds, whatever. So he's very busy. The traffic to Yamlok is it's extremely busy, especially in Kali Yuga. But so Yamraj never gets a holiday. He has to do his duty. Of all demigods, Yamraj is the most busy demigod. So Yamraj was very sorrowful that I can't participate in any pastime. So he wanted to take pastime in Krishna Leela because Krishna was coming in his original form in this age, in this pastime, in this Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga. He came as in his original form. So he wanted to come. So Lord Krishna, he inspired Manduke Muni to curse Yamraj on a pretext that he didn't do properly. He's not doing his proper duty. And Yamraj, he cursed him to become Shudra. He said, you are not doing proper decisions, so I curse you to become a Shudra. And Yamraj became a Shudra. And he incarnated as Vidura in the pastime of Lord Krishna. And so for 100 years or so, 125 years, how much time Krishna remained on this planet. At that time, Yamlok was empty. There was nobody as Yamraj. So at that time, Yamraj requested Aryama, who is one of the Aditya, who is one of the sun god, to actually take charge of Yamloka for the 125 years and actually manage everything. So Aryama did that. So there are so at that time Aryama was not acting as sun god, because these 12 Adityas, they act as sun god every month. So there are 12 months. So every month a different sun god is taking charge of sun. So at that time Aryama was free, and he was there in his Hiranmaya Varsha planet, Loka, and he was worshipping Kurma avatar. So Yamraj requested him, so he came and he took the charge for 125 years or so in actually Yamlok. So that's one of the function of Aryama, to actually take charge. So he took charge of Yamlok planet. Another function of Aryama, besides doing devotion in Hiranyamaya Varsha planet, is to actually look over Pitrilok. His main function of Aryama is he's in charge of Pitrilok. So Pitri, and Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Pitrinam Aryama Chasmi, of all Pitris, of all grandfathers or whatever, of all ancestors, I am Aryama of Pitrilok. He is taking charge of Pitrilok. And that is why in this verse it is said that that Aryama Saha Varsha Purshay Pitri Ganadhipate. He is worshipping Lord Kurma with Pitra Ganap Adhipati, who is a chief of Pitas. So Pitrilok is actually office of Aryama, and his home is Hiranyamaya Varsha. We can think like that. His home where he wants to take rest, the Hiranyamaya Varsha, he comes there, takes rest and worships his personal deities there. He hangs there and enjoys. But his office is Pitrilok. He daily goes to Pitrilok or whatever. I don't know. He's commuting, or maybe he has another office. He stays there for some time and he comes back sometime here for holidays or whatever. I don't know. But his office is Pitrilok. That is the one of the main functions of Aryama. That's what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Upadhavati mantram imam cha anujapati. And there Aryama worships Lord Kurma with the mantra, and the mantra is in the next verse, text 30, where you will discuss in the next class. Om Namo Bhagavate Akuparaya. Akuparaya means in the form of tortoise. So this is a verse here. The word which Prabhupada mentions in purport is Priyatama. Priyatama is dearmost. In fact, Jiva Goswami says that the Lord, why Lord is accepting so many forms? Why is accepting so many forms? One of the reason in the prayers of demigods, when Krishna is in the womb of Devaki, this is 10th canto, second chapter, prayers for demigods, or second chapter. So there demigods, actually demigods gives a reason why Krishna is taking so many forms and he's doing so many pastimes. Kurma, Matsya, Varaha. They say Vina Vinodam. They say we can't think of any other reason except Vinod. Vinod means enjoying. Krishna is doing so many pastimes simply to enjoy. But Jiva Goswami actually gives a deeper reason. He says, yeah, Krishna simply wants to enjoy. But the problem is, if you say Krishna simply wants to enjoy, and that's why he takes various spiritual forms and various avatars, then the whole question is he mad? He should have certain reasons behind that. It's not that a mad person simply enjoys. A mad person simply enjoys. A child is simply enjoying, who is ignorant. Child has no reason behind his activities or her activities, simply enjoying. A mad person has no reason to do anything, simply enjoying. A drunk person has no reason behind his activities. He's doing whatever he wants. So when we say Vina Vinodam, Krishna is taking all these forms simply to enjoy, then this automatically concludes that he's either mad or he is doing things for no reason. Now God doing things for no reason, this isn't really so this is not a good argument, because then this makes God as foolish. So that is why Jiva Goswami comments that, okay, Krishna comes to enjoy, that's okay, that's fine, because God is a supreme enjoyer, but he has to have a reason behind his all activities. And what's the reason? The reason is he takes so many forms. Why? Simply to give enjoyment to his devotees. And that's the main reason. When his devotees gets enjoyment, then he attains enjoyment. Because God in himself is self-satisfied. He doesn't need any other enjoyment. He doesn't need anybody to achieve enjoyment. Otherwise, he's not God. then this means he's not self-satisfied. So, but still, God, Krishna actually achieves enjoyment. By his enjoyment increases by giving enjoyment to his devotees. That's how his enjoyment increases. Also, although he has unlimited enjoyment within himself and he doesn't need anybody to enjoy, still his enjoyment increases when he gives enjoyment to his devotees. And that's the point Jiva Goswami brings, that yes, Krishna comes, does his pastimes to enjoy, but how he enjoys in those pastimes? By giving enjoyment to his devotees. So why he's taking so many forms? He got to give enjoyment to his devotees in one form. But no, he takes many forms because the devotees, they like to see him in that very form. Some devotees like to see him as fish incarnation. Some devotees like to see him as tortoise. Some devotees like to see him as Narasimha. So understanding the desires of his devotees, he takes those forms which will give them maximum enjoyment. And that is why Jiva Goswami comes to this conclusion. Krishna takes so many forms, spiritual forms. He takes so many avatars simply because his devotees desire him in that form. And to give them enjoyment, he takes those forms. He understands their deepest desires and he takes that very form to give them enjoyment. So the cause of so many avatars of God is devotees. It's not God. It's devotees, it's Vaishnavas, it's pure devotees. And because there are millions of devotees have millions of desires, so he has millions of avatars and infinite avatars. We only have information of 9 or 10 principal avatars or 24 avatars, whatever, but there are millions of the avatars. Sanatana Goswami mentions in Srimad Bhagavatam with. Srila Prabhupada also mentions in Bhagavatam purport, don't think Krishna takes only 10 types of avatars. He takes avatars as a mouse, as a cat, as an ant, as a tree. Prabhupada mentions Krishna takes avatar in all species of life. All species, that is Krishna, unlimited. He's not limited. 9 or 10 or 24, he's not limited. You can't limit him. We have some information, we don't have many other information. That's why it is. So that is Priyatamam, we have to understand. And that's basically, that's also Srimati Radharani. Krishna, there was one parrot in Vrindavan, and he was discussing with a female parrot, Shuka and Sari. Shuka is male parrot, Sari is female parrot. And they both were discussing and on the tree. And Shuka was saying, see, Krishna is so beautiful and he is Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya. He can attract millions and millions of Kam Devas. He's so beautiful. He's so attractive. He can attract all living entities of this universe. So Sari, the female parrot, she says, yes, but he's attractive only when he's on the side of Srimati Radharani. And the parrot, male parrot, he gets defeated. Oh, defeated. So Krishna's form of two-handed form and flute, why is having this form? Because Srimati Radharani wants to see him like that. So he has this form. Because we know in that pastime, Krishna once, he took four-handed form, Narayan form. And all the gopis came and they were asking, and they saw, so they were searching Krishna, but then they saw Narayan in four-handed form and they paid him obeisances and they said, where is Krishna? Narayan said, okay, he's there. But when Radharani came, he couldn't actually keep his four-hand form. He was forced to come in two-handed form because in front of Radharani, he cannot be in any other form except Krishna form, because that's her desire, to see Krishna in that very form and to not see Krishna in any other form. She cannot tolerate to see any other form, especially any other male, Narayan or Vishnu. She's not interested. She's simply interested in Krishna. And that's what Bhaktisiddhanta said in one of his, when he was disappearing, one of his lectures he gave on Srimati Radharani, and he said, the day when you are completely uninterested to worship any other form except Krishna, whether it's Narayana or whether it's Kurma, they're worshipping Kurma, Aryama, But when you are completely interested to worship any other form except Shyam Sundar form, whether it's Narayan or Kurma or Vishnu, at that time you will be chosen to walk on the path of Raganuga Bhakti. He was mentioning on the Raganuga Bhakti. At that time, Srimati Radharani will accept you as his close confidential associate. Prabhupada also mentions in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada mentioned one of the purports of Bhagavad Gita, I forgot where, but Prabhupada says one should not deviate his mind to another form of the Lord except Shyam Sundar form, Brajenandan Krishna. But having said that, this doesn't mean that we don't go to another temple of Narayan or Vishnu or Kurma. We don't go. We go. For us, we are not on that platform. Let us accept this. We are not on that platform. Bhakti Santa said, Puja Larakpat, worship the platform of Raganuga Bhakti, where they exclusively worship Shyam Sundar Roop and not other form. But as far as we are concerned, we are not at that platform. We are not even on the platform of devotion, let us say. We are trying to do devotion. We are like materialistic people trying to do devotion. At least I am like that. So that's the reality. So for us, yeah, we give respect to Kurma, we give respect to Varaha Avatar, Vishnu, Narayan. But as far as love is concerned and service is concerned, we serve Krishna exclusively as Gaudiya Vaishnavas. We serve Krishna. In fact, Bhakti Santa was there in Puri, and he said that so there were some devotees going to have darshan of Lord Vishnu, and he said, what's the use of going to Vishnu temple when we are sheltered on the lotus feet of Krishna here in Puri? So that was his exclusive devotion to Lord Krishna. But because we are sadhakas, we can worship Kurma, we can worship Varaha, we can worship Lord. We worship Lord Narasimha. Why do we worship? Prabhupada installed Lord Narasimha's deities so that he will protect us from the dangers and obstacles of this material world and help us to take shelter of Radha Krishna. So in that sense, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, if we want to worship other forms like Kurma, Varaha, Matsya, we worship them to get blessings so that we can serve Radha and Krishna. That's the Gaudiya Vaishnava. That's the Gaudiya Vaishnava. We don't worship them separately. For us, Anukula se Sankalpa, Pratikula se Varshanam. So we worship Lord Narasimha to attain shelter of Radha Krishna so that he removes obstacles on the path of devotion. We might worship Hayagriva to get knowledge so that we can serve Radha Krishna when we are preaching. We might worship Kurma. If you want to worship, you can worship Kurma to get tolerance, power in the service of Radha Krishna, to get enthusiasm in the service of Lord Radha Krishna. You can do that. It is actually bona fide. It's not wrong to do that. Of course, none of our acharyas, they worship Kurma Avatar. And of course, yeah, but Varaha Avatar, I think, yeah, Bhakti Santa Saraswati Thakur. Yeah, actually, this when Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was making his house in Calcutta or in Mayapur, Yogi, somewhere, I think somewhere, or in Godrum, Viswanand Sutta Puja. I'm not exactly sure, but when he was making this temple in actually either of these places, either Yogpit or in Calcutta. So when they were digging the earth, they found a deity of Varaha Avatar. It was Varaha or Kurma, I forgot actually. It was either of them, Varaha or Kurma Avatar. Yeah, I think Varaha Avatar. And this deities of Varaha Avatar, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave those deities to Bhakti Santa Saraswati Thakur to worship. And he was worshipping that since childhood. Now, in what mood he was worshipping as a Gaudiya Vaishnava? When Bhakti Siddhanta, he was exclusively devoted to the worship of Shyam Sundar Prajanandan Krishna. He was worshipping with the idea that by the blessings of Varaha Avatar, or I think Kurma it was, one of them, I forgot. Of them, he can get knowledge and devotion Yeah, I think it was Kurma Avatar. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, thank you for that. I think it's Kurma Avatar. So yeah, he was worshipping Kurma Avatar. Kurma Avatar since childhood. Why he was worshipping? As a Gaudiya Vaishnava, he was worshipping so that he can get knowledge and enthusiasm and tolerance in the service of Radha Krishna, and he can propagate the message of Radha and Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and the entire world. So here you see Gaudiya Vaishnava Bhakti Siddhanta, he's worshipping Kurma Avatar. So it's bona fide. We can worship these forms if we want. I mean to say, if we want, and it should be also sanctioned by our spiritual master. We can't just choose any form and start worshipping. That's not a good idea. Because if you start worshipping by your own mind, then all the 10 forms will be in your temple. Pashuram will be there, everybody will be there. So yeah, Bhakti on the order of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was worshipping Kurma Avatar, and we know Bhakti Siddhanta became a great scholar by the mercy of Kurma. I told you one of the functions of Kurma Avatar is to give knowledge, and that's how he sustains the devotion of his devotees to knowledge and realization, of course. So he became a great scholar by the mercy of Kurma Avatar. So here although Gaudiya Vaishnavas and Prabhupada mentions that we should not deviate our mind from any other form of the Lord except Brajanandan Shyam Sundar Krishna, and that's perfectly correct, and that's what is Gaudiya Vaishnavism. But we can worship other forms as favorable to the devotional service of Radha Krishna, to help us so that we can serve them purely. And that's what is a worship of Kurma Avatar. And that's why when Bhagavatam we are reading the worship of Kurma Avatar, we are not surprised to listen about the worship of Kurma Avatar. It's not that we don't worship Kurma Avatar. We have nothing to do with Kurma Avatar. We are Krishnaites and Sahijyas in Vrindavan. They will say, oh, Kurma, these are Vaikuntha people, Kurma Avatar. We are only Radha Krishna. But that's an offense. Because just because we neglect these forms, that's crazy, especially at our platform. We are not at that platform of Srimati Radharani. She can neglect. But even she in Vrindavan, even Krishna in Vrindavan, he once took what's that? Even Vrindavan, Krishna once took the form of Vishnu. I think in Sheshashayi Ghat, you have this place in Vrindavan, Sheshashayi, where actually he actually lied down on a snake as a Vishnu. And Radharani, she was happy to see Krishna as Vishnu. She was happy. Krishna said that, well, I am Vishnu. And he showed lying on the snake. And Radha said, oh, well, I think, yeah, you are Vishnu, but who cares for that? You first come here and listen to us. That's Srimati Radharani. So even gopis, they know Krishna has various forms. They know, but they're not interested in that, in those forms. We are also not interested in other forms of the Lord, but we can worship those forms. And at least at our platform, it's very nice to worship other forms of Lord and hear their pastimes and ask blessings from them so that we can serve Radha Krishna purely, especially in this world of temptations and obstacles. It's a dangerous word, and you don't know when you can be sucked up by illusion. We don't know whether we are 30, 25, 40 years, whatever. Illusion, Maya is always standing there to make us fall down. And we need help. We need help of Lord Narasimha, especially in preaching. We need help of, we need help. So we can worship Kurma Avatar. We can worship him. We can think about him. We can think about his pastimes. We can praise him like that. At Gaudiya Vaishnava perspective of worshiping Kurma is other avatars are like that. So that's how we can harmonize. Although Prabhupada says we should not deviate our mind on any other form, and then there's worship of other forms. How do we do that? Well, we pray to them to help us serve Radha Krishna. That's how we do. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody wants to ask anything? I'll just say it up here.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that very beautiful class, very detailed explanation about Kurma Dev. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. And
There are no hand raised. I would request if devotees have any questions or comments, they can ask now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, go ahead, Mother.
Go ahead, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. So,
Sure,
Prabhuji,
sure.
Prabhuji, one question I had from the Samudran Manthan pastime, like since long time. This question, so the demigods got the nectar, right, Prabhu? So, so do they become eternal? And what does it mean that demigods not the nectar and they became eternal, right?
So nectar doesn't mean eternality. Nectar by somras, this nectar, they don't have disease, they don't have old age, and they don't have death for a long time. That's the whole idea.
Okay.
And they get a lot of energy to do sex. So they enjoy. That means if you drink nectar, you simply enjoy. There's no sufferings. But you have to die. But they die after a long time. That's the whole idea. That's nectar. And that is why you see Sukdev Goswami, when he was reading Bhagavatam, it is said that the demigods came to him and they said, okay, you're distributing Bhagavatamrit and we can give you Swargamrit in exchange. We can exchange, okay, we have this Amrit, you have that Amrit. So give us Bhagavatamrit and we'll give you this Amrit. We got it from Samudra Manthan. So Sukdev Goswami said, you get lost, all of you. There's no comparison between Bhagavad Amrit and this. Why? Because this Amrit, what you have, it will increase your life and also it will make you disease free and energetic, but will not make you eternal. But this Bhagavad Amrit will make you eternal. That's the difference between that Amrit and this Amrit. So we know from that past time that this Amrit, although it's called Amrit, nectar of immortality, but doesn't make you really immortal.
Okay. Yeah, that confusion I had. Thank you, Prabhu. And the statement that you are making, right, Prabhu? I will read, Prabhu, that it is there. Prabhupada was mentioning in 11th chapter.
50, 1155.
55, yeah. There are hundreds and thousands of Vishnus, but for a devotee, no form of Krishna is important, but the original form, 200 Sham Sundar form.
Yeah. See that.
We had a question before, but in other purport, Prabhupada writes, you can worship Ram, Narasimha, Varaha.
So that's how I harmonized. Mm-hmm. We worship other forms, but we ask the blessings from those forms to worship Sham Sundar form. That's all. Yeah, so it's almost like gopis worshipping Katyani.
Yes.
So they asked her to have Krishna as a husband. So it's almost like worship. So Nand Baba and Yashodama and Vrindavan, they worship Narayan. They have personal deities of Narayan. So, but they ask Narayan blessings so that they can serve Krishna. So in that capacity, we can serve. We can actually worship them.
Yeah, probably one general question on the same line, like say we are Gaudiya Vaishnavas, but we are more focused on the Sham Sundar form. But as per my Swarupa, I may be an eternal worshipper of Narasimha Dev, right, Prabhu? So how the transition, now you see my disconnect, right, Prabhu? So
no, eternal worshipper of Narasimha Dev. How do you know that?
I don't know. I'm just saying, right?
You see the point. I'll tell you one thing. Okay, that disconnect. See, now this answer is, I mean to say, people can argue on this answer. It is a very controversial question. But my understanding is, let me tell you my understanding, that in Mahaprabhu's Leela, there was Mahavishnu, Advaitacharya, Sadashiv, Shiv. So Nimbarkacharya was there, Ramanacharya was there. Now we know that these devotees, Parshadas of Lord, they don't have just one form. Mm-hmm. Because they're liberated. Liberated means they have many forms. Just like for example, Nimbarkacharya, he is having 5 forms. So he's existing in Vaikuntha as Chakra of the Lord. He's existing in Vrindavan as cow, as a friend, as a Sakhi of the Lord. Similarly, Vallabhacharya, he's existing as Agni is Agni Dev in Swargalok. In Vaikuntha, he's also existing, and in Vrindavan, he's existing as Gopis. So when we are liberated, we don't just have one form. That's not the idea. That's one reason. But one point. So you might be a devotee of Lord Narasimha. In Vaikuntha, you might be a devotee of Lord Narayan in Vaikuntha, and also you might be a devotee of Lord Krishna in Vrindavan simultaneously. That's liberation, by the way. Liberation doesn't mean you only have one form. Liberation means you're beyond space and time. And according to your desires, you can take millions of forms to serve Lord. Just like Sheshanag, Balram has so many forms to serve Krishna. So that's the idea. They used to say Bhaktisanta is a Vaikuntha man. So he could have existed in Vaikuntha and simultaneously in Vrindavan. It's possible. So that's one explanation. Another explanation is Mahavishnu and Sadashiv, they are worshipping Lord Chaitanya in Madhurya Bhav. Murari Gupta, he is devotee of Ram, but he is participating in pastime of Lord Chaitanya. So you might be devotee of another, I mean to say, form of the Lord, but at the same time, you can still develop devotion for Radha Krishna. That's possible. That's not impossible. So when we do devotion of Radha Krishna, our heart will become pure and our original form will be revealed. So we might be devotee in Vaikuntha and Vrindavan as well, both of them. That can also be possible. Or if we are a devotee in Vaikuntha, we might also be attracted towards Madhurya Bhav. That's the special mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He's attracting all the devotees of all the universe towards Radha and Krishna by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So these two things can happen. That's my understanding.
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for such wonderful class. So, Prabhuji, my question is, like you were saying, Aryama is in charge of Pitriloka. So, may I know what kind of service is he doing in Pitriloka? Like you said, it is his office, right? So, in that case, what kind of work he must be doing?
Oh, he's managing Pitriloka. Pitriloka. There he has to make houses for people to live. He has to, people are maybe having political problems, fighting, so he has to settle their problems.
They are also fighting. So.
Yeah, everywhere people are fighting. In Swarglok, there are so many fights between demigods. You see, we all have accounts in Bhagavatam. This demigod kidnaps other demigod's wife. Brihaspati kidnaps the wife of Varun or something, I forgot, and then Agnidev kidnaps some other's wife, and this keeps on going, and then Brahmaji has to come and manage everything. So in Pitriloka, that is a point. And one of the main functions in Pitriloka of Aryama, which is mentioned in scriptures, is to do continuous Harikatha.
Okay.
That's what he's doing. So he's arranging functions. So he's calling Gandharva and Apsaras from Swarglok to have big functions where they will dance and sing songs about Krishna. And in the evening, he's doing Pandal programs and doing kathas there, where all Pitras are coming and he's giving discourses. And then he's sometimes inviting Brahma and Shiva to give discourses on Lord Krishna and Vishnu. So continuous Harikathas are there like that. That's what he's doing.
I think they are blessed then so much. So,
yeah.
Prabhuji, my next question is, you were saying like 12 Adityas are working as sun god. For each month, each Aditya will be working, right?
Yeah.
So, like that, like how many years will they work, Prabhuji? So, is there any restriction for them?
No, till the time sun is there, till that time they'll keep on working.
Which means till Brahma's lifetime, you're saying?
Yeah, Brahma's lifetime, they'll keep on doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Ansal Mataji, you can go ahead with your question.
Dandavat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, I have one confusion, and that did Brajvasis know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or they know Krishna as a simple boy?
No, they know Krishna is supreme, but they're not interested in that fact. Because if you say that they don't know, then they are ignorant. Then this means they are like us. They don't know Krishna is supreme. Then they are like sentimental people, isn't it? So they know, yes, but they're not interested. So it's like, for example, a wife and a husband. So the husband might be a big minister. But when he comes home, the wife is not least interested that he's a minister. You're my husband, and that's all. Get lost from him. That's all. So she is not interested in that fact he's a minister. Then she might tell to husband, if you're a minister outside, but not in the home. In the home, I am the minister. You see, like that.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for such a wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, regarding the question that Prabhuji was asking, I have heard in Srila Prabhupada memories where the same question was asked by Srila Prabhupada's disciple, and Prabhupada said that no matter whoever is your Ishta and whomever you are supposed to go back to, but this only Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the way to go back there. So Prabhupada in his memories of Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, so I have heard that also, Prabhuji.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice.
It should be in DVD 1. Yeah, and remember Prabhu's
that's
face.
good. Yeah, so
yeah,
it adds to our points.
Yeah, he said whether it's Radha Krishna or Ram, Sita, whoever it is, or Narasimha, it is through this process only. There is no other process. That's what Prabhupada
that's
said.
good. That's a good.
Yeah, Prabhu just wanted to add. And there is a question in the chat if you would like to take, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Who else is there? I think
there's a question in the chat.
There's a question in the chat, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes. We in Maharashtra worship Lord Ganesha, and our Kuladevata is a form of Mahadev Shivaji, demigod. From childhood we did puja and connected to the form. Now we serve Krishna and interest is lost. How to approach demigod while doing puja?
Well, if you're doing puja of demigods, if it's in your tradition in Kul Devta, especially Lord Shiva, then you can pray to him so that he gives blessings to serve Lord Krishna. Simple. Why if it is in your tradition and it's coming in your household as a Kula Devta, then you can't avoid his worship because other family members will be doing. And so you can then see him as a Vaishnavana Matha Shambhu and pray to him to give blessings to serve Krishna. Although we as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we don't worship anybody else except Krishna. But because in your situation it's like that, so you can pray to him. He's the best of Vaishnavas. He'll give you blessings to serve Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. There is a second question with continuing that. We have tortoise in Puja Mandir. How to worship the tortoise? Is that a form of our Lord Krishna?
Well, tortoise, Kurma avatar. You don't have to do anything now. Just give aarti and like that. That's all. Pray to him. I just told. Pray to Kurma avatar for knowledge, for tolerance, for these qualities in devotion, and he will give that. That's all. That's all.
Thank you.
No special thing.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. I have a small question regarding tortoise. You said, I have seen in many temples there is a tortoise outside the temple. Is that right or wrong? Means why there is a tortoise outside the temple?
Outside the temple, he should not be there, ideally.
Yeah, because I have seen not just one temple, many temples.
Yeah, but I've also seen that, but it doesn't make any sense outside the temple. But why it is, I don't know, but it should not be because but sometimes, like in Pushkar, if you go, Lord Brahma is there. The tortoise Kurma avatar is light in the front of the deities of in that. So, but that's under the shade and and within the Garbhagriha. So outside it doesn't. I don't think so. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji.
Vastu Shastra.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Sorry to interrupt, but does that tortoise outside the temple has any connection with Bhagavad Gita shloka? That's Sthita Pragnasya Ka Bhasha, that one should...
No. Nothing. Okay. That has nothing to do. So I think probably it's due to Vastu Shastra. These people, they say, if you keep tortoise outside the temple or something, from Vastu it's good. But from devotional angle, it's completely crazy. He has to be worshipped and not just put outside. It's not a good idea.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Next, I would request Lalitangi Radha Mataji to ask a question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your very, very nice class and nice points about Kurma Dev. So this is regarding your explanation about the body and the form, that how impersonalists take it in that way, and then Tanu, the form is the correct thing. So, and also in your previous classes, you had mentioned that Vaishnava sannyasis were also killed during that time by impersonalists. So, I mean, in a material sense, we can understand that, political parties or Bollywood heroes killing each other and doing that. But how come in the spiritual path, when, the goal is the same, it may be a partial representation of the Lord, this much envy could come, and then there's where is a question of any spiritual advancement or knowledge in that sense?
See, the point is, no matter how much advanced anybody is in this material world, as far as we are concerned, and we can, at any point of time, we can become a demon, right from becoming a devotee. It can happen. And that's why I think Krishna, through all those pastimes of fights between Vaishnavas and killing and enviousness, he's trying to, he's allowing this to happen, first of all. That's interesting. Allowing one Vaishnava to kill another Vaishnava, or one spiritualist another spiritualist, especially fight amongst Vaishnavas. That's a very, very big thing. So he's allowing that. Why he's allowing that? That's another question. If he's so merciful and he wants to protect Vaishnavas, he can simply stop it. But he allows that, what I think is because he's trying to warn us that no matter how much elevated Vaishnava we are, we can do those things which are unimaginable, even to a materialist. We can fall down to such a level of killing a Vaishnava. We can't even imagine, but we can do that. So we should not be overconfident that we have now become pure. And I mean to say, just like you're asking, how can they be so envious and how can these things happen? Well, we can do that. So it's not really surprising because it appears surprising because we think that we can never do it. How can we be envious? I mean to say, and especially when we become very elevated, or sometimes we think, okay, fine, I am so fallen, but how these elevated souls, they are doing such things? That's another question. But Krishna is showing us, Maya is very strong. Krishna is showing us, don't be overconfident. Maya can make you do those things which you can't even imagine. So that's what I think we have to pray to Krishna, so that we don't become demons. We can become demons. That's the whole point. This is a demon killing a Vaishnava. It's clear. And they are killing each other. Sri Vaishnavas, they are killing each other. And many other traditions like Vaishnava. In Gaudiya Vaishnavas also, there was fight and they were trying to kill each other. It becomes crazy. So that's a clear demonic activity, or they're demons. So yeah, Krishna is showing it can happen. We can become like that. So what to do? So pray, never be become too overconfident. Krishna is trying to give us message. Don't become too overconfident. And never think that you have become pure. Okay, so I'll tell you one thing. This Madhven Puri, he wrote a verse in Padyavali, and in Padyavali he said, so this is a famous verse you might be knowing. He says, people criticize me for not doing daily bath. People criticize me for not doing Sandhya Vandan. People criticize me for not doing worship according to Vedas. And he gives a whole list where people are criticizing him for this and this, this and this. And he makes a whole list, whatever possible. People criticize me because I've left my family, not taking care of my family and these duties. He's making list after list after list after list. And in the end, he adds to that list. He says, okay, fine. I am going to tolerate all these things, all these blames and all these criticisms. Okay, fine. But he says, add to your list one more thing. That I've not, I've left all these things to do devotion, but add to your list that I have not even got devotion. Add to that. Now this is a big criticism, now he's saying you criticize me like this, you can criticize me more than this. You can say, see, you have left this word, you have left your duties, this and this, and on the top of it, you don't even have devotion. You are useless nonsense. Madhvan Suri says, yeah, so at this point in your list. But still, I will keep on serving Sri Krishna, even though I don't have any devotion and nothing. Still, I will keep on worshiping Krishna because I will not budge from my determination, because there's no other option for me. That is what I want to do. Now, this is the whole point. Krishna wants to see us absolutely humble. And humbleness means to accept the fact that I'm not a devotee, and more than that, to accept the fact that I can even turn into a demon if Krishna's mercy is not there, and if I'm not careful in his service and I'm not alert, I can become a demon. And you see so many Vaishnavas in the history, they fell down and they did so many things which is unimaginable, going with prostitutes and killing others. How is this possible? Even one of the Alvar, Vishnu Chitta, so he said Vishnu Chitta, who actually fell with a prostitute. I think he was that Vishnu Chitta only, who fell with a prostitute, and then Krishna came and saved. Who is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Vishnu Chitta only, no? So later he got undone. Yeah, I think he, or yeah, you might know better. So he, as Alvar, he fell for a prostitute. Bilmangla Thakur, he fell for a prostitute. Now what's this? Big Vaishnavas and what's happening? So by Krishna's will, it can happen. If we are not alert, it can happen. These things are happening. And Krishna is trying to tell us this material world is a dangerous place. That's all. Here, a demon can turn into devotee, a devotee can turn into demon. Anything can happen anytime. Just come back to my material world, spiritual world. Because here, if all Vaishnavas are happy and if nothing happens, then we will always stay here. Okay, this. When Krishna is saying, don't stay here. That's why he allows politics in temples. He allows Vaishnavas fighting each other. He allows Vaishnavas to become envious to each other. He allows that. Of course, their desire is like that sometimes. We get tempted and deviated, and so that all other devotees, they become alert and they are born, and they pray to Krishna. Krishna, that's it. I want to come back to your world, spiritual world. This world is not nice. Even though I'm in temple, I'm a devotee, I know there's a risk, and that's what I think. This is why it happens. And also, he's trying to tell us that illusion is very strong. We can't underestimate illusion. He's trying to tell us, don't underestimate fear, illusion. I think that's why it happens.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Yeah, we need to, your lectures, the uniqueness is, they put us in place where we are, so that, we don't get carried away falsely and then do no devotion, nothing. Thank you so much for your association. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Prabhuji, do you have time? There are a few more questions in the chat.
I frankly, I don't have time because I have another class. Okay. So can we just?
Yes, Prabhuji. We'll take it next time.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Let us pay our responses to Prabhuji. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो नमः वैष्णववृंद की
Please keep
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare
Dandavat
Krishna,
Pranam.
Dandavad Pranam.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Koti Koti Dandavad Pranam. Hare Krishna. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna Prabhu Dandavad
Thank you,
Pranam.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna Prabhuji.
Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, dear devotees.